So today I'm going to do my April wrap up. I was too lazy to carry them, so I just put them in a box. And yeah, first up, I failed at Veda. I did try and film quite a few videos, but this building has been so loud, it's been unbelievable. I've literally been sitting in my room like tapping my claws like, when can I film a video? Because the noise has been overwhelming. So that's why the lighting is bad now, because it's really late and I just really wanted to film this wrap up. So the time has come, we can finally talk about books. We've been reunited. So this is in no particular order, I'm just going to go straight through them. I read The Silent Wife by A.S. Harrison. It's a psychological thriller. From the beginning, you know the woman is going to kill her husband. Yes. They take it in turns to narrate it, and I absolutely loved that. Their narration, it doesn't replay the same scenes. It moves the story forward, which again I like. We're not covering the same ground. And we know from the beginning that they've been together for a very long time. They've decided for whatever reason to not have children and get married, and you find out about that. You find out about their childhoods. You find out that he has had multiple affairs and that he's currently having an affair, and she knows about it. And she's come to accept it. But the interesting thing is she's a psychiatrist. So people come to their house and she like sorts them out with their problems, and you meet her like clients, which is very interesting. But being a psychiatrist, she knows that her situation is wrong and like she shouldn't really stay with him and he doesn't really respect her. And so you know from the beginning it tells you she's going to kill him. It says it on the back. And it was just absolutely fantastic. It really was. I didn't think that I'd like it as much as I did. I just thought it was so clever. It's such an easy read. It was a really good book. You know, one of those books that you're like, this, I'm satisfied with this. This was good. I enjoyed it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this psychological thriller. It was very good. It dealt with a lot of different issues and kind of, you know, stuff in their past, how that affects their future. Very good book. Really enjoyed this. It's actually really sad because the woman who wrote this, I believe this was her debut fiction book, but she's written some non-fiction books. She actually died in 2013 and she was working on another book, which will obviously never be published, which is really sad because this is such a fantastic book. But yeah, definitely give this a read if you're into thrillers. Next up, I've moved to the light. Okay, that's fine. Next up, I read Arthur Miller's Resurrection Blues. This is, of course, the famous American playwright Arthur Miller. On this channel, I worked out the other day that in my videos, I've reviewed something like 8 of his plays. So I think this is like the 9th play or 8th play that I review. I love everything from him. This is very different from him. A lot of them are kind of set in Brooklyn, and it's very working class family, and it's about their struggles or something that happens to them, and that's what it is. But this felt a little bit more like, if you liked The Crucible, you'll kind of like this. This is set in the South American Banana Republic. So they kind of live under a dictatorship, and there's the people in the mountains who are like the poor people and the normal people, and then you have it told from the government side. So the government only sees it one way, like we need to make profit, and you hear it from their side. And then the government finds out that the people in the mountains have kind of got a Jesus-like figure. This man has turned out of literally nowhere. He can glow, he can make himself disappear, all this other weird stuff. So the people have decided that he is Jesus, like some kind of, not Jesus, but some kind of spiritual person, like a Messiah. He does not call himself that though. He says, I have no idea what I am. I'm just here. I believe in love and peace and that we should appreciate nature, but I don't know what I am. So the government are kind of like, oh my god, this man's going to cause some kind of revolution, oh, you know what I mean, revolution, yeah, we need to kill him. They decide to crucify him, and loads of people like think it's a good idea, but there's one man who's kind of within the government, and he's like, that's terrible, because that's like Jesus Christ, you can't crucify him. And then, well, the interesting part of it is an American film company come over, and they are going to film the crucifixion for TV. It's going to be the first ever filmed crucifixion, and obviously we live in a very reality TV obsessed world, so it's kind of playing on that. And it's about the morals of the TV people as well, because one of the women just turns up on the set and doesn't know that it's going to be a real crucifixion, so she's obviously shocked and she's got to deal with her like inner morals. And what they're deciding is what adverts they're going to put on the crucifixion. So they're like, oh, we can't just show a man being crucified for this long, but this is going to be perfect for advertising because loads of people are going to watch it. And it's about if a Messiah came to like England or America today, would it work? Because we have like guns and bombs and all that different stuff. And because we're so cynical about things, like in this, they literally see him light up and glow, and they see him being put in a cell, and then like 5 minutes later he's literally disappeared out of thin air, and they still are like, there's got to be logic behind it, because we're so logical and we don't, we're not in simpler times as they were when obviously Jesus was around. So this is really, really fascinating. I thought it was fantastic. This isn't my favourite Arthur Miller. I still, enjoy the Brooklyn-based Death of a Salesman, All My Sons, that kind of thing. I absolutely loved Broken Glass. But I do think this was still good. If you liked Crucible, you'll like Resurrection Blues. It was very interesting take on religion put in modern society and if it really works. Absolutely. Thought that was genius. I then read James St. James' Freak Show. This is about a boy. It's set in America. The boy is a drag queen. He's a drag queen 24/7, and that's what he wants to be when he's older. He's a teenager at this point, and he goes to a school which is described as having a lot of hillbillies, a lot of Catholics. It's in the south of America. So he's lived with his mum, who's like this fabulous person, and then he has to go down to the south of America and live with his dad. All the children at school absolutely hate him because they are very homophobic, and so they're homophobic and he dresses like a drag queen. It's even worse for them. He is gay in it, and they just despise him. I thought this was good. I felt at the end it kind of turned into a stereotypical High School Musical book, film thing, but I did still think it was good. The writing style did get on my nerves a little bit. Don't know if you'll be able to see, but there's kind of capitals because everything's told from Billy, our main character, everything's told from his head, so he's just shouting stuff like, oh my god, and so he'll be talking and he'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe it, just in the middle of like a normal sentence or when someone else is speaking, and I did find it a little bit hysterical at times, and the way it's like this, so this is just a series of questions written in a line. It was very sporadically written, and if you're not into this very camp, very heightened character, you could find it quite annoying. So I thought this was an okay book. James St. James, the author, is very famous. I believe he is a drag queen or something to do with that. There's a picture of him there. He is really famous on the nightlife scene and stuff like that. So it did feel very authentic, like it was from someone, written by someone. You could believe he was gay and you could believe everything he was saying about the drag world and different stuff like that. So I did think it was good. It was also about homosexuality and how some people are kind of living up to an image, so they might be gay but they feel like they can't come out, and that kind of inner struggle. But I liked how it was dealt with because there's someone in it who's going to be gay, but he, he's not the stereotypical person that you would think would be gay. So he's kind of dealing with that, and Billy, our main character, who's this drag queen, who's really badly bullied, who's out and proud and everything like that, and he's like, I might get beaten up and really badly treated because I'm gay, but that's who I am, so I can't stop it. I like that he kind of says to that person, he's like, you're just going to have to come out. There's no solution. He's kind of like, I can't be patient with you anymore. I can't wait for you to be ready to come out when you are. I want to be with you, so you need to come out so we can be together. And it's kind of really, it's not something that's normally we're very kind about people when they come out, and we're very much like, oh, we'll wait for you and it's fine. But if you're trying to be in a relationship with that person and that person is still, hasn't come out to their parents and everything, but you are in a proper relationship with them, that must be really hard on you. And I really thought that bit was fantastically done. And so, yeah, it's a good book. I did find Billy's voice a little bit annoying in certain bits. I then read Trainspotting by Irvine Welsh, who's very famous film and book, obviously. I've done a full review on this, so I'll just link it in the description. We're now reaching nearly the 10-minute mark, so I'll speed this up. But yeah, I thought this was good. It's based in Scotland, a group of drug addicts, and I've done a review on it. Also, there is a spin-off book. I'll spin the book. There's a spin-off book of this that has come out, which is about Begbie. And Begbie is a character in this who, they're friends with him, but they're very afraid of him. So they're not friends with him because they necessarily like him. They're friends with him because he's such a psychopath that, if we're not friends with him, he's going to kill us. There's a new book that Irvine Welsh has just written from Begbie's perspective, and Begbie has completely changed his life. He's now a sculptor, he's like a family man, and he has to go back to Scotland for a funeral, and everyone is expecting this thug Begbie to come back and seek some kind of revenge. And it just seems like an interesting thing. So yeah, I'll be interested to read that. But yeah, my review I'll link down below. I then read the second book in the series of Unfortunate Events. This is The Reptile Room, obviously by Lemony Snicket. This is the children go and stay with their Uncle Monty, who specialises in steaks. He, of course, has a reptile room, and all stuff happens like that. I wasn't really impressed with this book. I felt the first book was genius. It was so good. You met Count Olaf, is it pronounced, and all his friends who are part of like this theatre troupe, and you met so many different characters. It was really fascinating. Whereas in this, it was just kind of like the kids and Uncle Monty, and of course throughout the book series, Count Olaf is going to try and get at them because he wants the orphan's fortune. So obviously he made an appearance, but I don't know, like, tell me down below if you've read the series, do they introduce more characters, or do they only introduce the character that the children are staying with? That's the thing, you know, I didn't think Uncle Monty was that fascinating or weird as a character to take a whole book, but I'm obviously going to read on with the series. I'm still interested in it, but I wasn't as impressed with the first one, if I'm honest. The drawing is still fantastic though. I'll show you some drawing. It's really, like, detailed and beautiful, but that's just my opinion. Then I read Louise O'Neill's Asking For It. It's kind of about rape culture and different stuff like that. I've done a 14-minute video on this. I know, 14 minutes. So I'll link that down below because I have a hell of a lot to say about this book. And it's not the usual stuff that's said about this book. Kind of a little bit controversial as opposed to the social norm that's said about it. So I'll link that below if you're interested in my thoughts. And then last but not least, I read this. This is a God File. This is by Frank Turner Holland, and this is basically, the book is supposed to be a file of a man called Gabriel who is in prison, and he has entitled the file the God File because he's trying to find if God exists. He's in prison for a crime he did not commit. We find very early on the whole situation of the crime and what came to him being in prison. This is a series of short stories kind of about Gabriel's life, so it's kind of like a diary, I felt. So it'll tell you about his relationship with his mum, his dad, his brother, people in prison. It really kind of goes there. You know, certain things you expect to happen in a male prison with very violent, abusive prisoners in there. People who are going to spend the rest of their lives in prison, so they've got nothing to lose, you know, if they kill someone or do whatever to someone. I thought this was absolutely stunning. This is really difficult to describe though, because he is trying to find the meaning of God kind of within each of the stories. Sometimes he'll say a story and he'll say something like, how can God allow this to happen? And then other times he'll say a story and say, nature's so beautiful, if God created it, God must be beautiful. And it's kind of about the contradictions of God. You know, it's that old story of God is so great, he created such a beautiful world if we think of animals and, you know, all different stuff. But then God is so cruel because he created, floods that kill people and natural disasters. So it kind of toys with that idea, but it's, instead of using those big things, it's using things just like his relationships with people. It was so beautifully written. This was such a moving book. I thought it was gorgeous, but as I said, it did read like a short story collection about someone's life. I just thought start to finish was stunning. It's got letters that he's written from prison to certain people, and he also talks a lot about being in prison and how when you've lost everything, you know, believing in God, because you've lost everything and no one likes you, so you might as well try and find some kind of solace in whatever you can. And then he goes on to think about, like, oh no, I hate God because he's got me here. It's such a fascinating, great book. I thought this was absolutely stunning. This is like one of my favourite books of the year. And that's it. That's all the stuff that I read. Here it is here. I think I'm going to try and do next month, or like this month, weekly wrap-ups, because I've been reading a lot more and I'm halfway through a lot of books, but because there's been so much noise in the building, I found it difficult to finish them. So I think I'm going to do weekly wrap-ups, so look out for that. Also, I have a little collection of stuff. I've been to a few museums basically alone, yes, like art galleries, And I basically went to the gift shops and I've got some books, so the non-fiction books, but would you like me to do a haul on them or not? If you would, then comment and I'll film it in the next couple of days or something. And yeah, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to subscribe. Sorry this video is so long. I think doing weekly wrap-ups will obviously make it less long. And yes, thank you for watching. Thank you very much, and thank you for commenting and everything, and I'll get back to this mad building that I'm living in. So yeah, happy reading.